The Avengers Endgame trailer held many surprises, but perhaps one of its biggest was Hawkeye's new look. Instead of sporting his trademark bow, he's now carrying a katana. And what's up with the ninja getup? All signs point to Hawkeye donning his Ronin persona, a stark contrast from the character we've come to know and love. But what exactly are the major differences between Ronin and Hawkeye? Lucky for you, we've compiled a few of the biggest ones right here. Weapons. What would Hawkeye be without his bow? It's like asking what Luke Skywalker would be without his lightsaber, Iron Man without his suit, Prince without his purple rain. It's not something we ever want to have to think about, because it just hurts too much. When discussing Ronin and the major differences between him and Clint Barton's Hawkeye identity, Barton's trademark bow is the biggest sticking point. Literally. Get it? Because it's an arrow and it sticks people? You did get that, right? As Ronin, Barton's primary weapon is a katana, a Japanese sword that looks super cool. Actually, Ronin has a wider range of weaponry than Hawkeye overall. While using the Hawkeye moniker, Barton's main focus is on bows and taking people out from a distance. As Ronin, his weapons stash is far more vast, including the likes of nunchucks, staffs, and throwing stars. We already know Barton is an incredible marksman, but his hand-to-hand combat skills don't always get a chance to shine. Ronin lets him unleash this skill set in spades, and although he may lose the tactical advantage his superhuman accuracy provides, he makes up for it in brutal efficiency. It's like if Legolas and Blade combined to form an even more awesome superhero. What's not to love about that? Loner. Hawkeye has always been an integral component of the Avengers team. He's the kind of guy you want around in a tough scrap, providing cover fire and just being generally awesome all around. It's difficult to imagine him on his own because he functions so well in a team setting. Not to say he hasn't succeeded in his solo ventures, it's just that he seems to enjoy being a part of a team more. Or does he? As Ronin, Barton tends to work alone. It makes sense considering the word Ronin is a Japanese term for a samurai warrior that has lost their master. You remember the TV show Kung Fu, right? David Carradine plays a wandering Shaolin monk who travels through the Old West. Ronin is pretty much the same thing, and like any wandering samurai, he preferred to work alone. This is in direct contrast to how we've seen Hawkeye portrayed on the big screen. He has his family, and he's always willing to step in and help out, even when the cost is high, as we saw in Captain America: Civil War. Hawkeye's normally cheery attitude is in direct contrast with his mentality as Ronin. He's no longer a member of the Avengers, and because of the fallout that happened in Civil War, even the government wants nothing to do with him. The Ronin mantle. But here we are giving Hawkeye all the credit for Ronin, as if he invented the character in the first place. Newsflash, he didn't. Turns out the Ronin mantle is one that has been passed down from hero to hero. While being Hawkeye is unique to Clint Barton and whoever he chooses to take under his wing, the Ronin identity has no loyalty to any one individual. Ronin first appeared in New Avengers number 11, and there was a whole lot of mystery surrounding the character's true identity. Originally, Matt Murdock, Mr. Daredevil himself, made the suggestion that Ronin should be a part of the New Avengers team. Later on, Ronin's true identity was revealed as Maya Lopez, aka Echo. A creation of the famed comic book writer Brian Michael Bendis, Echo was a deaf musician whose powers weren't all that dissimilar to Daredevil's. Kingpin helped her hone her photographic reflexes to their peak, giving her an edge against Daredevil and other enemies. But while Echo was the first and Hawkeye carried on the mantle, they're not the only ones. Luke Cage's Mighty Avengers team included a new Ronin in their ranks, Eric Brooks. You'd probably recognize Eric by his more famous name, Blade. That's right, even the Bomb.com half-human, half-vampire carried the Ronin mantle for a time. Sidekicks. We've talked all about Ronin being a mantle that isn't exclusive to Hawkeye alone, which is a major difference from the Hawkeye mantle. For the most part, Clint Barton has been the only one to don this identity with the exception of one person in particular, Kate Bishop. Kate Bishop is a character who, while she hasn't made an appearance in any of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's entries, plays a major role in Hawkeye's story in the comics. Kate Bishop made her first appearance in Young Avengers number 1 in April 2005. After a brutal attack, Kate decided to hone her fighting skills with intense combat training. Her abilities as an archer brought her to the attention of Hawkeye, and he decided to take her on as his protege. He was so impressed by her bow skills, he even let her use the Hawkeye alias during her time with the Young Avengers. Should Clint ever bite the dust, and hopefully he never will, it's not all that unlikely that Kate could take up the Hawkeye mantle in his stead. Would he extend the same courtesy to her under the Ronin name? Probably not. As we've already established, Ronin tends to be a loner, and while that mantle might be passed along long, he wouldn't be caught dead taking somebody on as a protege. Wow, what a jerk, but what a cool jerk. Personality. Not only is Hawkeye one of the most reliable members of the Avengers from a combat perspective, he's also quick with the wit. He provides comic relief and much-needed levity to his Avengers team members in times of strife. He might always mean business, but he's generally a fun-loving kind of guy, and exhibits a warm and inviting personality that makes him easy to get along with. When the world is coming to an end and all seems hopeless, it's nice to have someone like Hawkeye by your side. Ronin, on the other hand, not so much. This guy is all grim and grit, and less likely to crack a joke or even a smile for that matter. The first time we see Hawkeye donning his Ronin guise in the Avengers Endgame trailer, he doesn't look the slightest bit warm or amused. He looks like he's ready to either bust into tears or kick some booty, probably both. This is reflective of a number of things. First, we know Ronin tends to be a lone warrior on his own journey, and it makes sense he'd be off on his own trying to find his way. Second, Hawkeye has clearly been through some crazy stuff since the last time the Avengers saw him. This could be accounting for his sudden shift in behavior and his persona. Costume. Wait a minute, where's that beautiful purple getup? Hawkeye's costume has gone through a number of variations throughout the years, including that glorious purple face mask that has sadly never seen the light of day in any of the Marvel Studio films. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Hawkeye's outfit has fun little callbacks to its comic book roots, including the purple shades, but that familiar costume is nowhere to be found in the Avengers Endgame trailer. Instead, we've got the Ronin getup, which, while not entirely accurate to its comic book roots, is still cool enough to merit fanboy geek-outs. The biggest difference is the obvious Eastern influences. Ronin sports a dark robe and a katana, evoking samurai imagery in the least subtle of fashions, but also in the best possible way. He might not have a super cool ninja mask, but he does have a super cool hood and a funky-looking haircut. Okay, maybe we could do without that. The point is, Ronin's outfit is nuts and way more unique than the Hawkeye getup, at least the MCU version of it. It suggests the intense changes the character has gone through off-screen, and reflects the seemingly different personality Barton has developed since dropping his Hawkeye persona. What could possibly have happened to poor Clint to make him so sad? Family. One thing that makes Clint Barton unique among his Avengers brethren and sistren, is that a word? Sistren? Yeah, let's just go with it, is his connection to his family. This is an addition Joss Whedon made in Avengers Age of Ultron. In the comics, Hawkeye dated around quite a bit and developed relationships with Black Widow, no surprise there, Mockingbird, and more. Clearly he has a thing for supergals. But in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, despite some hintings of romantic involvement between him and Black Widow, Hawkeye found a way to settle down in secret. And he settled down with none other than Miss Lindsay Ware herself, Linda Cardellini. This was a unique angle for the character, and a welcome addition to his development. Protecting his family is one of Hawkeye's biggest motivations. So, how does that come to play with his identity switcheroo to Ronin? We have a theory about this, so bear with us. Since family is such a driving motivator for Hawkeye, it's likely something terrible happened to him that caused him to go the way of the ninja. We're willing to bet that Thanos' infamous finger snap heard round the world wiped his family from existence, sending him on a downward depression spiral that results in him donning the Ronin mantle. Makes sense, right? If you've got a better theory, let us know in the comments. Leading the way. We've given a lot of mention to Hawkeye, mostly functioning as a team player. Sure, he has his own comic series and has embarked on a number of solo adventures, but he thrives in a team environment, collaborating with others and only taking charge when necessary. Not so with Ronin. Ronin isn't going to take any nonsense from nobody, and he's certainly not the type to get pushed around by someone else's orders. When acclaimed comic book writer Brian Michael Bendis took over the Avengers series, he used the disassembled storyline to set things up for his new Avengers series. In a devastating turn of events, Scarlet Witch betrayed her teammates and ended up killing half of them, including Hawkeye. During the House of M event, Scarlet Witch revived Hawkeye, but he decided to keep his resurrection a secret and began to operate under the Ronin identity. His darker persona was cemented due to the death of his wife, Mockingbird. Needless to say, between this tragic event and the betrayal of Scarlet Witch, Ronin was determined not to make the same mistakes again. Eventually, Barton went public with his new identity and took charge of the new Avengers during the events of the Secret Invasion. It's likely he felt driven to take on the leadership role to ensure he was in control this time around. Japan. Japan plays a major role in Clint Barton's shift from Hawkeye to Ronin. As we mentioned before, a Ronin is a Japanese term for a wandering samurai with no master. The term is perfect for describing Barton's mentality while donning the Ronin persona, and Avengers Endgame seems to be following this train of thought. Before Clint had taken on the role, it was Maya Lopez, aka Echo, who donned the mantle, and she made the first ever Ronin appearance in Japan, watching Silver Samurai take out some dastardly Hand and Yakuza members. If you pay close attention to the Avengers Endgame trailer, you'll notice Clint Barton is in a similar setting. He seems to be somewhere in Japan, or maybe he snuck onto a set from the film Blade Runner, and scattered about him are what seem to be Japanese agents. Is it too much of a stretch to suggest these agents might be Yakuza? They certainly weren't out for a leisurely stroll in the pouring rain. This could imply Clint has been on the run since the events of Civil War, and might have needed to abandon his family in order to keep them safe. The only place he was able to find decent work was Japan, where he needed to don the Ronin name to avoid being discovered. Solo movie potential? It all comes down to the introduction of Ronin, suggesting a solo movie could be on the way. Fans have been clamoring for a Hawkeye solo movie since Hawkeye made his first appearance in 2011's Thor, but nothing has ever come of it. After all, Hawkeye has a family, and because of his intention to settle down and enjoy a simple life, a solo movie seemed unlikely. Now that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has apparently thrown Ronin into the mix, we're willing to bet a Ronin solo movie or series is a definite possibility. Now that Disney has announced it's developing a Loki series for its streaming service, the possibilities are endless. A Ronin TV series could be a fantastic way to continue the Clint Barton story outside of the MCU. With Ronin on the run, there are plenty of exciting options for stories too. Maybe there's even potential for the new Avengers to take center stage with Ronin leading the charge against all kinds of insane threats and enemies. While we don't want to think of a world without Hawkeye, the prospect of a Ronin series could open the door for Hawkeye's big return too. After all, Clint Barton eventually returned to the alias, picking up the bow once again. Anything is possible when it comes to the world of comic books. What do you think, loyal viewers? Do you have a better handle on what makes Hawkeye and Ronin so different? How do you think the Ronin identity will play out in Avengers Endgame? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to Screen Rant. That way you'll keep up with all the amazing content we're churning out daily. Until next time, true believers.